Okay, and we're live.
All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Foam Community Call. This is going to be the first in the fall season, and we're really excited to talk about all the exciting projects that are being built with the Foam API. Over this year, those tools have really been matured, and as we've now moving into the next phase of the Foam map, we're really seeing people take a stab at applications that actually rely on points of interest and will increase the demand of them. So first off on this call, I want to take the time to introduce Jessica, who's recently joined the Foam team on community and growth, coming from the MakerDAO team. She's going to be leading this call and has shared an agenda, and I'm going to pass it off to Jessica to start her introduction.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. How's it going? My name's Jess Solomon, and I'm very excited to start working at Foam and work on community and growth. I've been working for about several weeks now, and it's been really cool getting to know you guys and getting to know the Foam project. It's a super interesting one. Previously, I led community at MakerDAO for a little bit and then moved to the business development role at MakerDAO. But I'm very excited for this role at Foam, as it seems to encompass all of those beautiful and exciting things of growing both the Foam community and other things as well. In terms of general initiatives, getting more people to use what exists on Foam already, being the map. And I'm excited to say we've seen some great progress from some of our call participants who you're going to get to see a demo from in a short time. I was first introduced to Foam at ETH Berlin, which happened at the end of August. That was super fun. If any of you guys were there, Berlin is a fun place. So it sort of went off of that. And there was hundreds of hackers working, and we're very happy to see that the Gnosis team actually created something really valuable for Foam within that larger hackathon that won a top prize. I think they received about 6,000 DAI, which is a good amount of money. From ETH Berlin, we went to ETH Boston, which was a hackathon at the Harvard campus. Also, a lot of smart people hacking. Also very fortunate as Ian from Uniswap created another really valuable project for Foam of decentralized restaurant reviews. So now let's kick off those demos so you guys can actually see all this value that we're saying has been created. Gnosis team, German and Tobias, do you guys want to go ahead and do a demo of Mapcovery and talk a little bit about the inspiration?
Yes, sure. So hello, everyone, and thank you for having us. We are Tobias and me, Germán. We are from Gnosis, and we are presenting Mapcovery today. So this is not a Gnosis product. This is a project we did for ETH Berlin Hackathon last month. And right now it's just a prototype that is open source. Anybody can check it if you want. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, so
Good.
this is Mapcovery, and we are trying to solve one of the biggest problems of the blockchain, which is right now the key management. For example, we have the private keys that are too cryptic to remember, and even mnemonics are also quite hard to remember. And even social recovery is not really a solution because at the end you have to trust your friends and family and to do this work for you, basically. So current key recovery solutions are either way less secure or less convenient. And all of these things leads to many crypto users to store their private keys in unsecure places like cloud, in plain text, or doing screenshots, or whatever. So the idea came from combining together the memory palace technique and the Foam platform. So the memory palace technique allows you to memorize up to 20 objects. And what you need is to work with your visual memory, emotional memory, and also spatial memory together to visualize these objects in some places. How does Mapcovery work? There are two main steps, the setup and the recovery. we are using the phone app and a web app. The setup, it works in the mobile app, and it basically you need to select 5 locations and then deploy and set up the smart contract module for the Gnosis safe. Then after a while, when you want to recover your safe, what you need to do is to go to the web app, enter the same 5 locations again, sign a recovery transaction, and then you get a new recovery phrase that you can use. So here the most important thing about the locations you need to choose is that they need to be easily memorable, because if you forget them, we are gonna be in trouble. Then they also must be private, so you are the only one who knows them. And one important thing too is you need to have emotional connections with them. Like if you traveled in the past or in your childhood to a special place that you really know or whatever. So let's do a quick demo. Here we have the video we presented in the hackathon, where you can see here the phone app. And here we work with phone and Mapbox to select these 5 locations. Okay, so with these 5 locations, we are gonna get the geohashes, concatenate them, and use them as a private key to sign something that we are going to send the smart contract. And after that, okay, here we have the transaction to set up the module. We submit it. Everything goes well. Okay. And now we can remove our safe from the device, just simulating that we lost it. Well, the transaction is okay. And now we can remove it. And after that, we are going to go back to the web app to enter our safe address. And now we need to remember these 5 locations and select them again. And then these locations will be used to create the private key we are going to use to send a message to the module again. And before we get a random mnemonic, we are going to get, yeah. Okay, so right now we need to trigger the recovery transaction signed with this private key we generated. And that mnemonic phrase is the new recovery phrase we need to keep. So if we go back to the phone and we recover a safe, we can scan these QR codes in the web app, like the safe address and the recovery phrase. And we will get access again after the transaction is done. It's taking a while. And there it is. So this is our demo.
Yeah, and then just a couple of more thoughts. So obviously we made some simplifications. So maybe just to give more context, the Gnosis Safe, for those who don't know, is a multi-signature wallet, a smart contract wallet. And so there it is possible that you can replace some of the so-called owner accounts. And we did that in this hack by providing locations, points of interest from Foam. The simplifications we did was, so far, anyone could basically just trigger it and try it out, and there's no drawback to it. So basically, if someone would just start a brute force attack, they wouldn't lose anything other than just gas fees. So it would make sense at some point to put in a stake or a bond. Also, we should add a time delay between the recovery was triggered and it was actually executed. And also, we just, for the mobile app, but we could also do the setup via React app. And, you know, some of the UX could just be more improved. Also, we just decided for 5 locations at this point and just for a single user use case. But yeah, I mean, it was a hack. So that's just to give some more information there. If you go to the next slide, Raman. Also, to set this more into context, how secure is this actually? There could be, you know, dictionary attacks if I set it up, or if Raman set it up. I know Raman lives in Spain. He most likely will take points of interest from Spain. This makes it easier for me to basically guess his 5 locations. So it would make sense for him to take something that it's not easily to guess. Then the second thing, just brute forcing. Of course, the security depends on even the key space, basically. How many points of interest are there on Foam? This number is so far limited, but as the number grows there, obviously the number of possibilities grows as well. Another problem is front running, which we actually prevented in our prototype. So you would have to, we make sure that you also have to sign the new recovery phrase that you would like to replace an existing owner with. And in the end, on a contract level, you can actually not detect if you use this in recovery or not, because we built the smart contract in a way that it's just expecting a signature from where an account can be derived, and it doesn't matter how the private key that produced that signature was created in the first place. It could be via 5 locations. It could also be something different. Next slide. Also, just to set this into context from like to seed phrases. So with seed phrases, there's 12 words, and for each word, there's just about 2,000 options, which leads to like 10 to the power of 39 possibilities. And for these geohashes, I guess like we used, or I think Foam uses the geohashes also of length 9, or we used them. And so that means they are accurate to 25 square meters. And basically we took a look at the size of Berlin and just checked how many different geohashes there would theoretically be. And so we got to the roughly same key space when there were 5 locations. We don't care about the order right now. If we care about the order, the number of possibilities would increase. It's another way to improve security. And obviously not in every 25 square meter square, there's a point of interest, but just to get a sense of how many different options there are. And yeah, this is more of a schematic overview of these 2 phases, setup and recovery. When you set it up, again, 5 locations, they produce a private key. This private key belongs to an address. We store in a smart contract that only this address can recover. If you would like to recover, you need these 5 locations. We derive a private key from these 5 locations, which is used to sign a message, and then the recovery module recovers the address that signed the message, and then we can be sure that this is the right, that only the allowed 5 locations can be used to replace owners. And yeah, that's pretty much it. On the next slide, I guess this is a Foam community call. So why was it? Could you go to the next slide, Raman? why was foam important? We needed a very reliable source for geolocation. If geolocation was just slightly off, the private key would be different, the signature would be different, it would not work. Google Maps, OpenStreetMaps didn't really, it wasn't suitable because things can change there. I mean, we put this in there in 2018, someone changed New York to an anti-Semitic name pretty much. And then that led to problems with a lot of programs. And so, yeah, foam was a perfect fit for us. And also there was that question, well, what if a place or point of interest disappears from foam? Or maybe, I mean, it could be wrong on foam and then it's changed. But then historic data is still on a blockchain. So as long as we remember around which time recovery was set up, we could probably still figure out the location. Yes, that's it. There's 2 links if you would like to find out more, but thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tobias. Just for context as well, there is kind of like a graveyard layer on the UX of foam, so you can actually filter by only removed points. So okay. You're correct, they're never actually removed from the blockchain. They're just removed as their status are if they're verified or not. So you can always find their listing hash. And this is a really exciting application in the sense that it actually relies on consuming POI data. And it's kind of one of the first strongest examples of that. Maybe could you both speak to your experience with developing on the foam API, or how you were able to pull that data into the web app or mobile app, and how you really got started? What was that experience like?
Yeah, I think I let Ramon speak to that because I think he was working more with the foam API.
Sure.
Yeah, so we basically were provided with an endpoint where we had some filters, so we could select the different points of interest we would like to show, and then we just had to put them in the Mapbox map.
Yeah, so pretty straightforward experience.
Yeah, it was something that I've never done before, and it was fun to play with it and interesting.
Yeah, also adding to that, so we took a look at how many points of interest there were. In Berlin, there were quite some, obviously not enough to make this really secure. And I took a look at how I can add more. For me, that experience was, yeah, I mean, it worked straightforward. Of course, I needed my MetaMask and so on, but I was able basically to add new points of interest relatively fast. I mean, and there's this period where it can get challenged, but so if this gains traction, I'm sure other people can add more points of interest easily.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely a way to increase the security and one thing that can drive the demand of more points. So we have a question coming in from the community. Do you imagine location recovery becoming a new kind of standard for these smart contract recovery protocols?
Good question. I believe there will, it really depends on your use case, on which kind of recovery mechanisms you would like to use. So if you're a single person, you might want to use a different recovery option compared to you are part of a team or project that manages way more funds. And so I think it is a nice way. It will be one option. I currently have a hard time to imagine it will be the option because you still have to remember, and it remains to be seen if that works or if it doesn't work. And I'm sure currently, quite frankly, people still trust more their mnemonic that they recover or that they have written somewhere. But where I see it more is it's an additional layer. So you still have your recovery key somewhere backed up, but you additionally also have maybe Mapcovery or something. So in case you lost your, written down note or something, or you destroyed your computer where you have stored it, then you still have this fallback, which just increases the probability of you gaining back access.
From my experience, I can say, well, Lucas and Richard also are part of this project and were with us in the hackathon. And Richard a couple of times asked me, hey, do you still remember the 5 locations we use during the hackathon, and I can say I still remember them. So I guess it works.
Yeah, it's easier to remember a building than some random word, especially if you do have that emotional connection. And we see that a lot with cartographers on Foam, that they want to add places that they care about and maintain their neighborhood. So this definitely taps into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like, a challenge is with these private key things. So you obviously need a lot of characters for private key so it is unique, but you cannot remember that many or that much information. And so these mnemonics, these 12 words, are one approach to basically simplify this. Locations, I think, are another nice way, because just like, I remember, I don't know, in Berlin, we have this TV tower. Obviously, I don't remember all 9 digits of that geohash, but then as long as there's somewhere a mapping, in that case, it's Foam, that gives me that connection, then I'm able to, get the required number of like characters or entropy for the private key. So that's nice.
Yeah, that was incredible, you guys. I see also we have some community members have commented how they also think this is incredible and opens up the entire globe for potential recovery. Do we have any other sort of questions that these guys can answer for us, Katya, or community?
I think we can move on to Ian's presentation.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much, you guys. So now I'm going to introduce Ian from Uniswap, and Ian's created something really cool that revolves around decentralized restaurant reviews using the Foam map. So take it away, Ian.
Cool. All right. Hey, guys. So thanks for having me on. For context, I'm an engineer at Uniswap, and I was at ETH Boston 2 weeks ago. So I started learning about the Foam APIs and kind of what devs could build, their tools, and started brainstorming some cool things. So this was a project I built at ETH Boston. In general, I think the motive here was kind of to begin exploration on how we tie more like social and reputation aspects to like geolocations. So it's really just an experiment to see like what tools are available and like how can we start to think about like mapping like actual people and profiles and social engagements to geo information that Foam provides. So I will give a quick demo of what I've built, and then for anyone on the call that's interested in the technical aspect, I'll like quickly breeze through like the APIs that I was using and kind of like how easy this was to do. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Let's see, can you see that all right?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Cool. Okay, so right here you can see here's a map that I am rendering with Mapbox, but I'm pulling in points provided by the Foam API. So I'll just refresh this so you can see like a fresh start here. But basically, this is a React app. It's loading in this data, and then there's a chat feature that's built in. So you'll see here just some like demo like text messages I was sending. So we have like a general chat here, and we can send it messages and do things with it. But then the cool thing is you can kind of like look around. This is New York right here in Brooklyn, and you can click on these locations and threads will open up for each of them. So, we can post messages in here and they'll send. For context, right now, I've already signed in with my MetaMask, but if you were new to the page, it would ask you, do you have like Web3 enabled? Or are you on a dApp browser, or like, sign in somehow to access the information? Just to show you guys, I will switch accounts. I'll switch account to this other one. It'll, as you can see, like my message from my other account was saved, but now I'm on my new account, so I can send stuff there. So it's pretty cool. Another thing that I'll mention that you guys didn't see because I've already done this with this account is when you are accessing the dApp, the way that your profile gets generated is you sign some transactions and provide some approvals with your MetaMask. And basically what that does is it uses the 3box API to generate kind of like an account for you. So in simple terms, all this is really, it's using Foam to provide these locations. It's using 3box to create these decentralized chat rooms, basically, and then it's kind of mapping a room for each space on the map. And you can see these things get saved. Like I sent these this morning, and they're still there. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. This is just an experiment. You can see here I've filtered out locations just on restaurants or like places that serve alcohol or food. Just because I thought that was a little more interesting, but you can definitely kind of see the potential here. I think in general, it's just kind of a step one in seeing like, how can you tie profiles and user information and kind of like threading to, create some type of reputation, board or system around these locations on Foam. I think that's something that will be useful down the line. And I think this is like just kind of something people can look at and get ideas like, oh, okay, that's how that works. It's that easy to make. And like, what can we do that's even more powerful? So for anyone who's interested in the technical aspect, I won't get too deep into this and I'll keep it brief, but I'll just show you, just as a demo to show you how easy it is to do this. I'll just kind of walk you through really quickly what I'm doing here. But basically 3box is the framework that I'm using to like create these spaces and profiles. So I just have like these dummy hacking like spaces right now, but you can like set up a new space. You can join these threads that are created dynamically based on like the restaurant location and then like the general thread for this app. And then you can get messages for them and you can like tell if it's like someone else sending a message or me, myself. This section is the code is everything that goes into rendering the map. And it's literally the same stuff that you would do if you were pulling from like a Google Maps API or something like that. So all you have to do is really create your bounding boxes and get a set of geo hashes, and then you can just render them with something like DeckGL from Uber. This is where I'm actually like getting the information from Foam. But the reason I'm showing you this is like less than 300 lines of code, and that's the entire app, right? Like it's nothing crazy, but you can already see like how easy it is to kind of do stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cool thing. If people are interested, they can check out my GitHub. I think I kind of laid out some next steps that I think are important to think about. One, I think for these things to actually be useful and like good tools in the future, we need to do a lot of thinking about like reputation systems and moderation so that people can't like spam stuff or there's like shitty data. But in general, like those things are pretty easy to solve and you can add them into these applications. And then there's just general UX stuff. Like obviously like right now there's no like account names or like it's just one thread per thing. And like, that's not ideal, but like that's super easy to solve. You can imagine even pulling these things into like a list view that's less like focused on the map itself, but more just on the points. So yeah, stuff like that. And then just performance stuff. But in general, it was really easy to build. And I think people should really like explore this kind of stuff because they can get it up and running really fast. And I think there's some like really cool, valuable stuff that people can make, like more than just reviewing restaurants, but like actual kind of like discussions around like historical events, for certain locations and stuff like that. So yeah, you can check out those APIs, check out the GitHub, and yeah, it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, it's super awesome, man. So actually, our community thinks it's super awesome too, and has asked a series of questions about it. So we'll start with Caleb, and he's wondering whether or not other apps can utilize the reviews. Yeah,
so that would be something that also be easy to integrate. Right now, you can't do that. But all that would require is basically the good thing about 3box is like if I click on one of these that have already, yeah, here we go. So these chats are actually stored in a 3box space. So I can show you in the code. But basically, you can fetch posts from these spaces, and that stuff is all stored on IPFS. So basically, like, I haven't exposed like any API or something to get these reviews, but you can literally go into the like the space on 3box and retrieve those messages. So it's actually already, you can do that right now. You would just need to know like the schema and like the standards for the naming basically. And that would be something like people would publish online, I imagine. So basically like if someone was doing a restaurant review type thing, you would say like the general format is like a name plus like, you know, some standardized like title thing. And then you can go on, use 3box API or just go to IPFS and find location and like pull that information. The easier thing would just be like if a team was actually doing something like this, they could just expose an API and do that. But it's really easy. It's just simple data, stuff like that.
For sure. And to follow up, Gibran Khan asked, so it's really hyper local chat room.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah. So one thing that we were thinking about that'd be kind of interesting is like around DevCon, like if you had like chat rooms for like all these like locations of interest around DevCon, because it's like you said, it's hyper local, so it's kind of like an interesting thing. I think it gets more interesting when you start doing things around like reputation and like kind of like decentralized feedback on stuff. So at that point, it's more than just a chat room, but it's more like how can I get a sense of like information around my surroundings in a way that I can kind of like trust and like that's ranked like, you know, with economics and stuff like that. I think that's where it gets more interesting. But yeah, that's what this app is, and it's like the very baby steps towards something that's, you know, more robust like that.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And also we have a question from Leaf Malone, who I've had the good fortune of meeting in the phone office, whether or not the messages are stored on IPFS or elsewhere.
Yeah, so I haven't dug super into how 3box works, but I believe that they're using IPFS to store this information. So I actually have this up right here. So I recommend you going to the 3box GitHub, and they have a wealth of information on one, how to like create these threads, but also like they have posts and information on where they're storing it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's IPFS. I don't know the in-depth things. I've only looked at this a couple times. That's how easy it was to use. I literally just pulled down like a couple of these functions and made it. But yeah, I think it's IPFS, and you can look through here. Yeah, get IPFS. So there's like endpoints and stuff. Yeah.
Solid. Additionally, Gonzalo Crypto asked, was this just a quick hack, or do you plan to take it further, Ian?
Yeah, so it was a quick hack. I didn't even fully intend on hacking when I went to ETH Boston, but you know, I was learning more about the Foam API, and it was really cool. So I'm like, all right, let's do this. I think it's something that I think I would like to keep working on because I think it's really cool. And then I encourage other people to like just completely fork it and use it and do their own things with it as well. Because I think a DevCon thing could be super cool. And the other thing that I think would be interesting is, Ryan, you've shown some stuff to me before, like with the 3box profiles, but in general, like more like accessibility to people's profiles that do these types of reviews, I think is cool because you can like earn badges for being like a good reviewer. And I think like really good UI around that, especially for foam reviewing, would also be interesting. So yeah, I think I'll keep exploring it, and I hope other people you know, start to play around with it.
Yeah, great. We love that answer. Gonzalo Crypto also comments that it also needs a high demand for restaurant POIs data for it to be valuable, which we can do. And Simona Pop follows up that restaurants could incentivize people to visit via bounties.
Yeah.
Simona actually is from the Bounties Network too, so maybe we can collaborate on that.
Yeah, I think that stuff is where it gets interesting, right? Like when you like people always talk about like the money Legos and DeFi, but I think there's also like a ton of these like kind of Legos things for like location-based bounties and like actual activity in the real world. And I think the map is a good like interface that kind of bridges like what are the actions I'm taking in the real world, and like how can I map those to like rewards that I earn, and then how do I visualize that like on the internet. So yeah, stuff like that I think would be really cool.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Simona comments more about that she's thinking into the future, looking at influencers and how they'll emerge into Web3. So
yeah,
I think this is a solid first step. Also, Lay of the Land asked if you envision anyone being able to create a group of reviews for a different location category.
Yeah, so something other than restaurants.
Museums and theaters, etc. are suggestions that.
That would be so easy. Literally, it's just like it's just like a filtering thing. So like it'd be so easy. You can sort, like you can get all the foam points and you can sort them however you want. And yeah, I think that stuff is super easy to do and definitely worth it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, so maybe Lay of the Land, you can come up with some ideas of things that you want to see commented on here. And Leaf, our friend, asked again, would be great to implement a web of trust in some way. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Sorry. I put a couple of thoughts about that on my GitHub, but yeah, I think like these kind of moderation and like feedback systems are important for stuff like this, just so information doesn't get dirty or spam and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. And then also Lay of the Land comments that it would be quite cool to have the ability to switch on and off the reviews with a time factor. Example during events like marathon and conferences. That's really cool. Yeah, that's needed. Nalo talks about how there are already Google local guide power users leaving reviews for free.
Yeah.
So we could give reviews for free, or maybe they get like a cool prize like socks or something.
Yeah.
Something out there.
Yeah, I think in general, like you can kind of introduce these new incentive mechanisms for doing stuff like this. Like, yeah, there's these power users. Like I was talking to you guys about this the other day, but like the map community that just does mapping stuff around the world is like pretty hardcore. But like there's not a ton of incentives. Like you're not going to get like super rich just plotting points. But like if you can like actually generally like build up a reputation and earn some stuff, or at least if it's badges and stuff that can be used even outside the context of like foam, I think that's really powerful. Stuff like that I think is what people should build first. I think that kind of stuff is really important.
Yeah, 100%. Also, Nalo asked if on foam reviews you can add the point as needed and then begin reviewing. I think that seems totally reasonable. And Lev asked, do you have to add points on the foam map, or do you add your own POIs?
Yeah, so
like you would add it on the foam map, right?
Yeah, so all these points are currently like within the directory points on foam. If you wanted to add a new point, you could just if you guys have ever used like the foam map, you can just go add it there. But like you could imagine when these UIs get a lot more advanced, like you would have those integrations built in. So like you could use the foam endpoints to add POIs right within this, or you can imagine like influencers going to locations, adding the POI for where they're at, and then like these things pop up and it's purely like verified that they're there. I don't know, you can get crazy with it.
Yeah, totally. I want to do a ton of stuff with it. Awesome. So does the community have any more questions to ask Ian about all this exciting stuff, or do any of you guys want to help him make something cool for the Osaka DevCon that's happening?
Yeah, help me out.
Yeah. We'll let you guys simmer with that thought. So yeah, we've got a whole bunch of cool DevCon Osaka plans coming up for foam. We've got a 6-hour workshop, I believe, where our very talented brain trust of devs are going to be leading and talking for a while. They're working long hours and late nights now, getting all ready for that. Ryan, do we have a time on when that'll be? For
I don't believe the DevCon organization has released the formal schedule yet, but just for more color on that, the foam team will be at DevCon in full force. We'll have over 10 of our team members there, so if you're there, please find us to say hello. The developer team will be leading a workshop, and the name of that workshop is called How to Build an ETH 1.5x application in one day. And so ETH 1.5x is kind of a catch-all term for layer 2 solutions of like kind of halfway between ETH 1 and ETH 2. And this is kind of building off of the foam location demo that we did earlier in the spring of really showing how easily and quickly we were able to spin up a Plasma implementation using our functional programming tools. So that's going to be a very hands-on workshop where we're going to be building these Plasma applications and actually demoing a signaling market where you can trade the signal NFTs on a side chain on Plasma. So it's going to be a really exciting workshop. We're also giving a talk on functional programming and blockchain and how foam goes. So we'll have 2 different tracks going at DevCon proper. And Jess, if you want to speak about the other things that will be happening.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got like a lot of amazing content. We're very excited that the ETH Foundation sees how cool foam is and gave us all these great talks. We'll also be throwing a happy hour soon to be released as to the schedule of when that'll happen. Uniswap and $3 might be helping us out with that, so you can come hang out with all of us here in DevCon. And lastly, we're going to get some really cool team swag, and because a lot of you guys are such great community members, and might as well just be a part of the team. For the people that submit the most POIs in Japan before the first day of DevCon, we'll send you the team swag as well. So just send me an email, just get foam space that shows all of the POI contributions, and we'll send you over some merchandise. And yeah, I'm sure it'll look great. Katya's got a lot of cool ideas. Lastly, the next call we're going to do live from Osaka. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of really thrilling things to update you all on in regards to foam. So come prepared for questions for that. Are there any other sort of general questions that we can provide answers to at this time, or can we maybe shut this down and say goodbye? Okay. Yeah, we've got a couple questions, and don't worry, we'll be releasing more information on proof of location soon, Gonzalo. There's exciting things in the work there. So all good. Cool. Well, thanks so much, everyone, and have an amazing Thursday.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone, for joining. Really exciting projects that you've all built, and really excited to see where they go next.
Yeah. Bye.
See ya.